From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Hi everyone, hope you enjoyed the concert. My name is Nick Brown. I didn't do anything special, it was all her. We're so pleased to have Anne Sofie here to spend some time with you all. I'll start off with a couple of questions and we'll open it up to all of you and hopefully our colleagues will join shortly. This is a very interesting program in terms of the mix of contemporary popular artists as well as the earlier Renaissance and Baroque music. Is this something new for you to mix the types of music, or have you been doing it for a while?
No, I frequently mix the composers and the genres in my concert programs because I enjoy it very much myself, and then I hope that the audience does too. And there are plenty of other singers who put together different types, more specialized, only Schubert or only the German romantics. So this has all sort of always been it's always given me a lot of pleasure to mix, to vary the programs and to do, for instance, only English Renaissance music. I wouldn't even want to do that. So this is my little cook up, and because the musicians are so fabulous, they can play these other types as well.
Wonderful. Can you tell us how you three came to start working together?
Oh, there they are. Hello, Bob. Sorry, we started without you. Yes, well, I have sung quite a lot in Paris with the different Baroque orchestras there, and Thomas lives in Paris, and so we met each other for the first time, 5 years ago or something, and I noticed this young man, how extremely talented he was, and he also liked to fool around, and we would do a pop song, and so I thought, he's the guy, and I tell you that not every lute player has such freedom as you do, as Thomas does. And then we needed a third person, and I had never worked with you before, but I think you said, and other people said, to ask Jonathan Cohen, he's fantastic. So I did, and it turned out that these two knew each other really well, and they loved playing together, and Jonathan is a conductor, not only a keyboard player and a cello player, it's also a conductor. That's what you do.
That's right.
Maybe more than anything else. So anyway, you knew each other, and it was the perfect combo, and I just love these guys. They are so wonderful. They're such musicians and such freedom and so nice, and I hope we can do a lot more concerts together.
Wonderful. Has there been a highlight from this tour in terms of a specific performance or a specific venue or a specific audience? Assuming that this is the best, of course.
We were just talking about that. You say.
Jonathan, it's on.
Well, when we go on tour, especially as a keyboard player, you often have sometimes very different instruments in different places. I have to say tonight I really enjoyed the fantastic harpsichord and organ that we had here, so that was a real highlight for me to be able to play these instruments.
Wonderful.
I loved all of them, and they were all different. This one was the last one, so it was really emotional. But Philadelphia was fun. The first one was wow. They were all different, but I loved them all.
Have you two toured much in the U.S. separately? I know you've been in here in Washington recently and such.
Yeah, I come to the US reasonably regularly in different guises. I work a lot with the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra in Minnesota, come to New York with my ensemble, Arcangelo, but I always love coming to the US. Audiences are very friendly, and And I find people enjoy classical music a lot here in the venues that we come to, like here, for example. It's great.
Are there plans for the three of you to tour further in the future?
In our heads, yes.
Wonderful. For Anne Sofie, what is an important thing that you hope U.S. audiences gain from the Nordic music that you share when you perform over here? Because I think a lot of the composers aren't so familiar to us over here.
Nordic, you mean when I do other recitals with Nordic music?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, Nordic music is, a lot of it is extremely beautiful and has its own character and the texts and everything. Of course, Swedish is my own language, but the songs are exceptionally good. Grieg, the Norwegian composer Grieg Sibelius, and Sweden doesn't have a big name like that, but we have, I don't know, 5, 10 different fantastic leader composers, so I almost always include them in my programs, and I know that the audience really take them to heart.
Wonderful, thank you. I think we'll just switch it over to you can ask questions now. If you could just raise your hand and wait for a microphone to come to you, that would be great. You all didn't have a drink before, did you hear?
Anne Sofie, you did an album with Elvis Costello. What was that like?
Well, Elvis is a really fantastic guy. He's got so much experience. He's really, really clever, and is very. Is a very creative person, as you know. Anyone who knows Elvis Costello, I mean, he does all kinds of things and plays and sings with all different kinds of people, and has just written a fantastic book. So it was a great pleasure to work with him. We had got to know each other several years before we recorded, so I really felt that this was someone I could trust, and he'd been to many, many concerts at different classical music that I'd sung, and we started discussing what kind of pop music I liked and why I didn't like other kinds, and so we were sending cassettes. This was the day of the cassettes. It was a back and forth. So all in all, it was a very wonderful experience, and he really knew what he was doing, doing this, putting my voice in the right context and choosing the good songs for the disc together.
Yes. My microphone runner disappeared, but I will run it.
So I actually had a question for all of you. Is there some piece of music that... Is that better? I had a question for all of you. Is there some piece of music that you have really always wanted to perform, or perhaps a role, Anne Sofie, that you have always wanted to do but hasn't yet come to fruition? What is your white whale, if you will?
Oh, well, I've had a very long career, and I've been very lucky, and I've done most of the things I wanted to, and there are few things that I would like to do, but which are not for my voice, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I've had such a wonderful career doing all kinds of amazing roles and pieces with wonderful conductors, so I can't even say that I'm unhappy or bitter or anything. I'm doing now contemporary opera more than I used to, because the composers will maybe write with me in mind, which is nice. Thomas Adès, and I'm doing a Finnish opera, the Ingmar Bergman film, the Autumn Sonata, and the Kurt Weill, the Drei-Groschen opera, Threepenny opera, right? Yeah. So that kind of music, but otherwise, I feel fulfilled. What would you like to do that you haven't done?
Everything that I haven't played. Any style. I'd like to do classic. classical. I like to do later stuff. I like to play Mozart, Beethoven, Satie. I like to play jazz, rock, all stuff. I'm trying out on the lutes, many different things. There's a lot to play.
Well, for me, I'd love to do the Haydn Creation. That's something that I haven't done. I really love that piece, and it's an ambition of mine to do that. And Haydn in general, actually in the Baroque stuff, I don't know if you did any of the Rosenmuller and Schmelzer and Bieber and that kind of sort of early Baroque German music. I haven't done so much of that, and I think it's fantastic. So lots of things yet to do for me. But
You're both so young.
no.
I have, may I ask a question? How come you don't tune all the time during the concert? Because I've done some concerts with theorbo or arch lute or lute before, and there's a sort of several times during the concert. It takes quite a long time every time. Now, you have not done this once, I don't think. And so I wonder, is it because your lute is so well built that it keeps its tuning, or do you play a little, you change where your finger is so that because you can hear, I need to play a little higher? How come?
It's technology. No, it's just because 300 years ago we used gut strings, and they were very good at making gut strings, especially for lutes that were specific and really great and kept the tuning. But it was an art, like Stradivarius' process of making wood with a violin. It was a real art that's been a bit lost, and I'm not very satisfied with the sound of gut strings now because it's all made in factories and stuff, so it doesn't sound as on the lute as nice. So I just use synthetic strings, which most lute players use, because if you'd go on tour from San Francisco or from LA to Washington and every day go in different places, and you guys would spend your life listening to tuning, it'd be really boring.
So it's because of the strings.
The strings are good, and when you change them, it moves a bit, but then it settles down and doesn't move too much. Yeah.
I also would like to know, how long can you play on this lute? It looks like it's been quite used a lot, a little wear and tear. And do you use it? Is there a moment when the lute has had enough and you have to throw it away, or do you then renovate it and put on new polish and change a few things, and then it's good as new?
Well, I really love this lute. I had it when I was 14. And I've been playing it all the time since. When I first got it, whoa, this thing's got a resonance, and it was amazing. It was a young, whoa. Now it's an old guy who's seen the world, and it's, and I really love him, and he's still great. Love it, but he's dying.
Is that a fact?
No, but the table is really used. It's been hit and. It doesn't have the same youth it used to have, and lutes are very fragile, so they tend to... I hope he doesn't die, so I'm going to do everything I can to take care of it, but I've been playing too much all over, like on beaches and wrong places.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, you would never stop using a cello or a violin. You would give it to the, whatever it's called, the shop where they make them good as new, right?
He was practicing in Central Park in New York a couple of days ago, just under a tree.
Did you make any money?
That's right.
No.
Question following up on that for Anne Sofie. How have you noticed your voice evolve throughout your career? And have you done anything specific to kind of...
Well, I work very hard now that I'm older. I've always been quite disciplined, but never as disciplined as now, as I can tell you. If I wouldn't practice and keep my voice, work very hard with it, I would have to retire immediately, because my age, the voice really wants to be like the rest of the body, a little. So you have to hold it up. It's true. I'm not fibbing. This is very. I mean, if I just let it go, it goes wow, wow, wow. So to be able to sing rock music and straight tones and generally keep it fresh sounding is just very hard work. You have to be very, think about what you're doing.
How does your warm-up differ from a program like this versus the Mahler that you performed at the Kennedy Center a few weeks ago? Or is it the same?
Well, for Mahler Third Symphony, which I did a week ago, with a wonderful orchestra here, and Christoph Eschenbach, it was a huge experience. It was very intense, and I loved it. But to prepare for that, the instrument is bigger, so to speak, and I need to warm up in a bigger way because I sing differently. So I still need to warm up, of course, for this, but then when I go out on stage, I sing in a much more contained way. The warming up itself is not so different.
Any other audience questions? Yeah, one second.
I was very pleased to hear you mention Eva Cassidy, and I was just curious to know how you came to discover her music.
Eva Cassidy, I wonder if a friend didn't say, have you heard of Eva Cassidy? I think so. And then I was hunting around for Simon and Garfunkel songs, and on Spotify her name came up, and I recognized the name, and I listened, and then it's so beautiful, and I went out to buy a disc. But I and most of the world didn't know who she was when she was still alive. Apparently she really wasn't famous outside Washington. And then somebody did put together some songs or made a program about her, and then she, people heard how beautifully she sang. But she didn't, she had she sang also in a much tougher way, but she really knew how to use her voice. It's very sad that she died so early.
Time for one more question.
Hey, it's pretty clear that you have enormous love and respect for pop music. In this country, the pop music is to some extent dominated by Swedish people. There are a lot of writers who write songs for likes of Kate Perry, Max Martin, Dr. Luke. And to some extent, what I've seen in their interviews, they said that it is because the music education in Sweden gave them a great start. That they had music classes, that they went where they discovered music through that. So I wonder how you feel, if it is important. A lot of people feel that it is, and in this country it's quite lacking. If you have any comments on that, and in general, the music education, a certain importance of it, in terms of just pop music or music in general.
The music education in Sweden is terrible. It really, really is. I mean, at least if you're thinking classical music and musical education in a broader sense, wider sense. But a lot of people still sing in choirs, all different kinds of choirs, and so. But the Max Martin phenomenon is incredible. I mean, there are so many. It's not just Max Martin. There was somebody called the Red One, and my son is trying to do the same thing. So this is now a kind of. I guess they all learn from each other, and but no, unfortunately, the music education, I think, in most countries, maybe not in France or in Germany, but in most other countries.
Yeah, well, in England, there's a big campaign at the moment to try to get music much more in schools for kids and for everyone when they're young to do it. And I think it's so important, because if you have a familiarity with that in your youth, then that's a real pleasure to be able to do that in your life, whether you do it professionally or not, and maybe the audience of the future. And it's important, I think, so important that kids can do music, even if they don't want to do it after a while. But they should be given the chance. So important.
And Franz?
Yeah, it was good. But the thing is, when you learn in a conservatory or anything, tends to be something very rigid about the way of learning about this is harmony. You have to learn 4/4 and 3/3, and you forget about 5/7 Indian music, jazz, improvisation, and all this stuff. And they tend to have this thing of schools. We are the best school. You have to stay in school and study here. But actually, music, the best experiences is playing with people, and that's how I learned even more. It's good for giving a basis, but I think schools don't do everything as well. It's also experience. So, but I was very lucky in France. They have good systems for that, where you can go to class half time, and conservatory half time, and you get to meet young guys who play saxophone and teach you jazz. And it's great. I was happy.
Do you ever go to jam sessions with your lute?
Yeah.
Nice. Next time you're in DC, you'll have to do one at some club, and we'll all go over to see.
Okay.
Great. Wonderful. Well, thank you to Thomas, to Anne Sofie, and to Jonathan for joining us up here. Andras, you still have CDs? Is he gone already? Okay, never mind. No more CDs, unfortunately, but you can go online and find them. Thank you again for a wonderful performance and for speaking with us.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.